Hey guys, another one take review, and today I want to talk about the new Kae Tempest album, The Line is a Curve. The Line is a Curve is the latest album from Kae Tempest, poet slash rapper, and an individual I've been following for a little while as their style of poetry and their sort of overall delivery and persona that they portray through their music is something that immediately drew me to their attention, and since then I've been constantly interested in what they were going to do next, and this being their most recent album, it was one that I was pretty excited for. There are actually a lot of features about Tempest's music here that is very developed and kind of changed around a bit. Take, for example, the very electronic beats found on The Line is a Curve. These aren't the type of electronic beats that you're really going to expect, I think, when a lot of people hear the term electronic beats for, hip hop or anything remotely close to. A lot of people assume more modernized electronic beats, but this is actually more of a self reference way back to the olden days of the electronic genre. As strange as it might be to say in the year of 2022, this record has a lot of stuff that's straight out of the Tangerine Dream or Kraftwerk playbook. Now, obviously, both of those bands, especially Kraftwerk, are completely essential to the development of music history, and modern music would not be the same without them. With that being said, they are still kind of not exactly the sounds that you would expect to hear in the current year and the current scene of all music. While the idea of hearing old school first wave electronic music on an album like this may seem a little bit dated or strange at first, it actually works out surprisingly well, and with that particular style of electronica not really having been utilized within music in quite some time, it's actually kind of fresh and weirdly young, even though it's a style that dates back decades. One could even argue that a lot of the sound hasn't been relevant since the late 70s when Kraftwerk and Tangerine Dream were really at their peak, as the early 80s saw the rise and mainstream popularity of electronic music, and thus it began to develop into synth pop and, artsy electronica and progressive electronic and all sorts of stuff like that. But I mean, really, it kind of sounds like this record takes a little bit more influence from those first few years of the genre's popularity. It's also in that way that The Line is a Curve is a unique listening experience that is relatively different even with it repeating an idea. Perhaps the most major aspect of The Line is a Curve is Kae Tempest's lyricism. Their songwriting here is fantastic, and it is something that has been repeatedly proven on previous releases, and especially this one. Their writing style is very unique and intense and very powerful and direct as well, while still maintaining a sort of poetic crypticness about it, which is a decision that ultimately makes this undeniably a Kae Tempest album. For as many people that are out there in music right now trying to be poets of some sort, trying to be poetic icons or standout lyricists, there are very few that actually manage to do so, and Kae Tempest does stand as one of the few very unique individuals within music in terms of poetic lyricism right now. Kae Tempest's writing style is a pleasant meeting between the dramatically overly poetic, which I find personally very endearing, as well as the more direct and simple and engaging type of poetry that you see more often in modern pop culture, and I think it makes for a very interesting listen overall. Perhaps I'm saying so too early, but The Line is a Curve could be some of the best lyricism that we end up hearing all year, or at least within the next couple of years even. Again, maybe it's just me using a bit too strong wording, some, hyperbole here, but I truly do find that Kae Tempest and their work as a poet is some of the best to come out of this century's music so far. I mean, hey, it's not Leonard Cohen, but then again, who can be Leonard Cohen but Leonard Cohen? Anyways, I move on. Tempest's actual rapping can be a bit monotonous in terms of actual vocal sound and delivery at times, which seems like it might be a big deal at first and heavily weigh down the album's quality, but it's saved from the fact that they managed to deliver a variety of flows and cadences throughout the different songs on the album that really add a sense of variety, even if the delivery itself isn't really that much variety with it. The usage of talk singing and standard poetic structure is something that heavily influences Tempest's work on The Line is a Curve as well. In fact, the album even ends with the song Grace, an entirely spoken word song that's just backed by an acoustic guitar and some bass-based synths. Overall, the performer in question makes up for their lack in actual delivery, or tonal variety, I suppose I should say, by making up for it with a sort of variety and very much so intensity of actual vocal delivery as well as performance and style. There's also some features on The Line is a Curve, but they're honestly few and far between and really not all that noteworthy. For example, Confucius MC does some solid work on the track Smoking, but honestly deserved an extended verse, and still doesn't even really match up to the work of Kae Tempest. Kevin Abstract of the formerly recently broken up Brockhampton is really the only above average feature on the album, as he does manage to prove just why he is such a praised and beloved artist and why his role in Brockhampton was so heavily beloved. However, generally speaking, Kae Tempest feels like a very solitary artist, so to have any features on this record or any other record by Kae Tempest, which I don't think has happened so far, is very awkward and definitely a little stiff, and it just doesn't feel quite right. Kae Tempest, their writing and their voice are very their own, and it doesn't feel right to have other people backing it up because there's truly no need. Thankfully, as stated before, the Line is a Curve features are extremely limited, with only a couple here or there, and most of them being short and sweet. Overall, The Line is a Curve is a testament to Kae Tempest's abilities as a writer and a performer, but especially as a poet. While the record does undeniably have its flaws, Kae Tempest's work on The Line is a Curve as both a writer and a general performer and personality is so strong that any blemishes are mostly rendered unremarkable at best, which is why I'm giving this record 4.5 stars out of 5. I definitely think that the people out there who really enjoy poetry and sort of creative writing in a similar vein are going to be most of the people that appreciate The Line as a Curve to the fullest extent, but I mean, hey, I like my poetry, I like to do poetry, so I like this album, honestly. And even if you don't really dig poetry, there's still a possibility that you'll enjoy this record, but my point still stands. Anyways, like I said, The Line is a Curve, 4.5 stars out of 5, and with that being said, that's the end of this review, and I'll see you guys in the next